welcome to another episode of my podcast. And today I'm very happy to have a guest for you that has been inspiring me in the crypto space for a few years now. I want to welcome Ashton.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here today, for taking the time to share a little bit of your experience, of your years of being in the space. Can you introduce yourself? What do you do? What is your vocation in this space?
Sure, yeah, I'm Ashton. I run the Crypto Coin Show, which is a YouTube channel and a media network in blockchain and Web3. I got started around 2013, and now it's been 11 years, which is crazy, because that's around 100 years in blockchain, because there's so much going on in blockchain. They say it's even more than dog years. So it's been a very enjoyable ride. I'm still very fascinated at all the updates that are coming out, and there's still so much innovation going on in the space that I can't help but follow along and enjoy learning about it every day.
Yeah, I see that. I mean, you are part of the Tulum Crypto Club, where you host weekly talks, I would say, about you doing this market update. Also, you're doing it in your newsletter and on your channel, where you just like explain what's going on in the market, how things are evolving, what's new. And it's very interesting because I guess you spend lots of hours watching videos, which many people have a lot of resistance watching though many hours on YouTube. Where's your main source of information?
Mm-hmm. It's a tough question to answer, and you know, I always give these weekly talks at the Crypto Club just because there's so much going on each week. But if you're just getting involved in blockchain, then it's really easy to get stuck in the weeds, because one of the things they say in blockchain is that if you're not struggling to keep up, then you're not following along enough, because there's just so much information. And if you're looking at a week-by-week basis, it's hard to see the big picture. And from in my past life, I guess you could say, I also studied finance, traditional finance. And when you follow along with financial mentors, some of the best investors in the world, they always say that you should be zooming out and having a long-term investment horizon. So not looking at what's Bitcoin doing this week versus next week, or even this month versus next month, or even this year versus next year, but having a decade-long plus horizon. So although I like to keep people up to date on what's recent, only because I'm speaking every week, but I love to remind people that this is an innovation that is being brought to the world, and it's only 15 years old.
Yeah.
But Bitcoin itself is supposed to last for centuries, and
Wow.
it should replace the traditional financial system into a complete new financial system. And they say financial systems only last 100 and a little bit years, and it's already been around 110 years since the Federal Reserve came in 1913. So it's very ripe for reinvention. Yeah, so Bitcoin came out at the perfect time. This technology, because you know the internet is now sort of at a level of maturity where a lot of the world is starting to use it, and they're finding ways to use the internet to lower the barriers to entry for financial inclusion, especially in emerging countries and places where people can't get access to loans or get IDs to get into the bank. With the rise of Bitcoin and decentralized finance, it's really I think it'll bring a lot more value to people around the world than the internet has already.
That's a big statement.
Yeah.
You know, thinking of that, because the internet changed all our lives, right? I mean, the way we are communicating, I can see my mother on the screen when she's like thousands of kilometers away. I can order food in the seconds. So yeah, I guess the whole financial system needs a revolution and needs to be changed. So why not also send currency or value over the internet in a very fast way, decentralized? That's, I think, the whole idea of blockchain and crypto in general. So what is your take about the whole crypto industry? I know usually how people get inside is they hear about a coin that did 1,000,000x, and the guy is driving Lamborghinis, and the life of a digital nomad. I mean, we're in Tulum here. We also live in a pretty good life. But if you could like give us an idea of what crypto is for you, what would it be?
Yeah, well, you know, when people first hear about crypto, sometimes they hear about some random coin or project that did really well, and they sort of have a blurred sense of what Bitcoin and the blockchain industry is as a whole. But I like to make the analogy to the dot-com era, right? And back in 93, 94, 1995, when the internet was first starting, people didn't really have an understanding of what the internet could do either. They didn't think, oh, you know, we're going to be able to use Amazon to buy things in 2 seconds and have it delivered in the same day. You know, they thought, oh, they were very against putting their credit card into the internet because they thought they're going to get scammed or they don't know who they're dealing with. And it didn't take until a big bubble where there was also people driving Lamborghinis in 95, you know, selling domain names for millions of dollars. And then that sort of crashed. We've seen synonyms of Bitcoin and you know the crashes it's had, but it always came back bigger. And those same companies in the dot-com days that dropped 95 to 99%, including Microsoft, Google, Amazon,
Apple.
Amazon at one point was down 97% on their stock.
Wow.
You'd think, oh, this is like, you know,
it's dead.
It's dead. Now it's the largest company in the world with a multi-trillion-dollar valuation, right? And so I think people don't understand the use cases that will become of blockchain technology. And Bitcoin is the great first use case in that it's a peer-to-peer currency where we can transfer between you and I directly without having an intermediary. But beyond that, the underlying technology that makes Bitcoin possible, of the blockchain, of introducing smart contracts and turning complete programming languages into a network where we no longer have to deal with third parties. Once you introduce
third parties in this sense is a bank,
for example, yeah, you don't have to, you know, I can send you Bitcoin to Australia in a few minutes, and it could be $1 billion, and that would only cost $2.
Yeah, and nobody would ask questions.
And nobody can stop it. You know, in the bank, it'd probably take weeks and hundreds or thousands of dollars of payment processing, and yet this amazing technology allows us to do that in a few minutes. But once we get past that point where, if you look back at the dot-com days, people didn't understand what the use cases of the internet was for, the same goes for blockchain. Once we get past the initial adoption of Bitcoin as a payment and it's more widely accepted, people will understand that blockchain will be used for everything, at every business that either does transactions or stores data. And that's every business in the world.
So looking at where the market is now, last bull cycle, or like last cycle in general, was more about NFTs a lot, and metaverse was big. Now things like real world assets, AI come in. Where do you see the market going? What are like the top players of this bull run that we're about to hopefully get into?
Well, all of the sub-industries that you mentioned, they all have huge potential to grow. And it's hard to pick and choose which one's going to grow this year. You know, even, for example, AR and VR technology, we've been talking about it for 10 years, and that, you know, this is the year that VR is going to make huge advancements. And it was supposed to be in 2016, 17, 18, and we still don't really see many people using the metaverse in their everyday lives. You know, almost no one. You know, even for work purposes, you know, we've seen a big transition into Zoom and remote working, but taking that into the metaverse, is there really 10x the value in that? You know, and that's one of the measurements that a lot of innovators look at is, will this technology 10x the efficiency or the usefulness of the current technology that we're using. And sometimes you don't really realize the benefits until you're forced to use that technology. AI has made huge improvements in the last year, and it's on an exponential growth pattern. So I think we will, and people don't even realize how quickly it will grow. And it incorporates with blockchain, but also has a mind of its own outside of blockchain as well. Metaverse as well, eventually it will get there, but I feel like it's a little bit slower. Gaming in general, though, and that's one that you didn't mention, but I think will grow before the metaverse, in that games and in-game items, which have been marketplaces for 20 years, maybe not as legit or not with cryptocurrency, being able to have real-world assets or real-world digital assets of in-game items in a major AAA game release that's on the blockchain, or at least the items in the game are on the blockchain, is something.
So for example, sorry to interrupt you, for other people to understand. So for example, you're playing some GTA, for example, and then you can buy real world digital assets, let's say a Lamborghini that is only made once, let's say. I just saw Cristiano Ronaldo has a new Ferrari that was is like the first SUV. If you have that NFT or that digital product, and you can use it in a GTA, it would be something valuable for the players. They would buy it or sell it, right? Yeah.
And when you can create that kind of asset into an NFT, you can prove the authenticity that it is the only one. Then you can also transfer it using blockchain technology through a marketplace, potentially into other games as well, which is something that hasn't really been possible in traditional gaming. So to have a standard protocol where this game's on the Ethereum blockchain and this other game's on the Ethereum blockchain, we can actually move in-game assets between them and buy and sell those and have a marketplace for that in cryptocurrency. And it's all decentralized, and there's safe buyers and sellers. And the blockchain is acting as the escrow system or the trusted party, the trusted decentralized network, so that you can trust who you're working with to buy and sell these things. And that wasn't possible back in the beginning days of eBay. And you try to buy something, and then there'd be a third party that wants to take a cut and hold the money for 2 weeks, and then the other person scammed you because of some centralized failure in the system. So gaming is going to be huge. The market size for gaming is actually bigger than movies and music and film all combined.
You said 3 billion people are gamers, are playing games?
There is that. If you count casual gaming on your phone, which is in a huge growth spurt right now, and hardcore gaming, there are billions of people that are playing.
Wow, that's like 1/3 of the people, let's say, so gamers. That's crazy. I've never been a gamer, but I can understand who wants it. I've gambled with other stuff. Probably losing more than a gamer loses. But for the people just starting off with crypto, have no idea about it, and it's like, or people who have idea, because you have interviewed hundreds or maybe thousands of people on your show. What is like a way for you to see if a project is legit? Because you know how it is. Hey, I found this coin, I found this project, amazing, they're having a market cap of 25 million, let's put a few thousand in there, and then 3 weeks later, website is down. How do people detect if things are legit or not? Because we ultimately want to know where we're putting our money into.
For sure. Well, if you make an analogy to traditional investing or just safe investing in an investing portfolio, you're going to want to, if you are looking at speculative plays like that, something that's $25 million market cap would be considered a micro cap investment or a very, very early stage investment. You probably want to have some experience with investing before you go taking risks, especially risks where you can't afford to lose those funds, right? And with speculative investments, smart investors or accredited investors will usually have 10% or less, 5% or less of their portfolio in something that's more speculative like that. And the majority is going to be in safer, higher market cap assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, things that you would find in the top 10 crypto
And also
on the
top
charts.
10 assets. I mean, Bitcoin has become, I think, top 10 asset now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bigger than Tesla, bigger than other companies.
True. It is. It does have a bigger market cap than, like McDonald's and the banks and things like that. So, it's tested the tail of time for 15 years now, and it's fairly safe to say that, yeah, it can be volatile, and if you invest at the very top of a cycle, it's possible to still lose over 50% if you buy the top and sell the bottom. But at least you know that the network is not going to go down. There's tens of thousands of nodes distributed throughout the world.
Yeah.
Versus a speculative investment. At that point, you should have some investment experience yourself, where you can vet, the team or the dexes that you're trading on, or the smart contracts, things like that. So that, and also, even when you do, all of those checks, investing amounts that you can afford to lose. You wouldn't care if it goes to zero.
Yeah.
Because the chances of investing in something that's, a $10 million market cap in crypto that has just come out in the past few weeks, the chances that it becomes the next Uber or Microsoft are, 1%, very, very small. But people get caught up in that hype. They, as you said, people find out about these projects as their first experience into crypto, and they hear their friend got really rich off this project. It's providing a high APY percentage. It seems unsustainable, but your friend's making money, so I'm going to try to do it and put in more money than I can afford to lose.
Yeah.
And that's a big mistake that a lot of people make, and has nothing to do with the underlying blockchain technology itself. The technology is sound. It's people trying to take advantage of other people and provide an opportunity to say, hey, there's this new technology, but in a way, it's an exit scam or a rug pull of some sort.
Yes, I've heard it many times. This is a new technology, and then it was just a new way of stealing people, So yeah, I would recommend everyone to be really careful in crypto. I've done multiple mistakes. I keep on doing them, losing money here and there, making it and losing it again because of just the fear and the greed coming in very often. And we are in a bull cycle now, hopefully. Things are picking up. We had the ETF. Now the halving is in 74 days, I think, something like that. Where do you see the market going? Of course, no financial advice. It's just your humble opinion. Where does the market go after the halving?
Yeah, well, in the past 6 months, Bitcoin has outperformed. It actually was the top performing asset of 2023 in crypto and outside of crypto. And of the last,
better than Solana?
Better than Solana. Yes, it did. Solana was more on the tail end in that 2-month period. But overall, for safe investments, it was 160% return if you consider from beginning of January until December 31st. And part of that was to do with the upcoming ETF launch, which happened now, and we actually saw a retracement since then, which I think is very normal as well, especially with a 6-month of run-up leading up to it. Usually it's a buy the rumor, sell the news kind of event. But there's been huge success with the ETF launch so far in terms of volume and new buyers of Bitcoin. A lot of these ETF issuers have multiple billions of dollars of Bitcoin now on their balance sheets to help back the ETF issuance as well. And we saw 10 billion of volume, which was unheard of and historic start of any ETF. It blew all of the ETFs of 2023 combined out of the water, just this one launch for Bitcoin. So there are a lot of players, and as I said at the beginning, they are not looking at what's Bitcoin doing this month, what's Bitcoin doing next month, or even this year. They have a 5 to 10 year horizon. They understand that Bitcoin has been the best returning asset in the past 10 years. And usually another smart investment decision that some of these long-term investors make is to sell off the losers and continue to accumulate the winners. And Bitcoin has been that winner. So the ETF is just started, but it will be, it is a significant event for Bitcoin. and the halving event to have the supply that's coming in as new supply, combined with the extra demand from the ETF issuance, should put a lot of price demand on Bitcoin, whether it's in the next 1 year or next 2 years. No one can guess the exact time.
Yeah.
But a lot of these long-term investors, they're not worried about whether Bitcoin's going to get to 100,000 by this summer or next summer or in 3 summers. They have the confidence.
They want to accumulate for the future, right?
Yeah, and that's another reason why Bitcoin went down, because they want it cheaper and they don't mind it being lower for a little bit. And that's usually when newer investors get scared, is they see it going down and they think it's going to go down further, so they sell. And it's at the exact moment when they sell, when it turns around and goes back up.
Is there a name for that? For that, is it like a Murphy's Law?
Emotional trading.
Okay, it's called. I've been there. I've been there. You know, yeah, it's a journey, but yeah. So, if you can give the last advice, or maybe your own personal strategy on how to survive the next 2 years in crypto, not get wrecked, not lose everything, and potentially come out with significant gains, what would you do?
I think first and foremost, you need to be investing in things that you're interested in, right? If you're only investing in something because your friend said it was going to do well and you have no idea, that's a huge leap of faith. You don't even know what you're putting your money in.
Yeah.
You're just trusting the word of your friend who may or may not be correct. Another good tip that I've heard from one of my friends, the rational investor, very rational, is have 3 reasons to make a trade or an investment. So not just one reason, not just your friend, but 3 personal reasons why you think this is a good investment for you.
Yeah.
And usually that helps make decisions. And then beyond that, continue learning and finding the section of the industry that you're interested in, right? There's thousands of hours of content on YouTube for free. And as I said, every industry will be disrupted by blockchain. So if you're personally interested in the automotive industry, there's a huge section for that where blockchain and technology will interrupt. You know, if you're interested in gaming, there's a huge section for that. And my personal interest is in the blockchains themselves, the core protocols, what are going to be the operating system plays that will host all of these other applications in the future. So that's what I'm most interested in, and that's what I follow. But personally, I'm not that interested in NFTs or specific types of gaming. So there's so much going on that I just say, okay, I'm going to leave that to somebody else that's following that expertise. I'm going to stay in my lane and look there, because there's opportunities everywhere.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And it reminds me of a saying that is, if you're having your fingers in many different plates, you might end up having nothing in your hand, because you're like grabbing everywhere, and then nothing stays. You know.
Yeah.
So probably it's the same with crypto. If you're like in 50 different projects, you don't follow what's going on them, and then you end up like missing out the chances to sell or to double down or to get alpha information because you're just overwhelmed. So I think that's a good point to close it with. I could go on for hours talking to you about crypto. It's a very interesting topic for me, and especially when listening to you in the Crypto Club, it always feels like it's easier to understand, because it can be Chinese, and sometimes I feel my brain is fried when I listen too much technical stuff. But you have the ability to break it down to human language. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your work and also your dedication that you have. I know that you're a good human wanting to bring value.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think that's your biggest asset, to bring value to people. So hopefully this could bring you some value today. And if you want to follow this guy, Crypto Coin Show, right?
Yep.
Is your channel. Mine is the Freedom Rebel, and also some new project called the Crypto Club. We have a sponsor, that is Sequence, that is sponsoring this. And yeah, I'm looking forward to bring you more value and more information, so you don't do the mistakes that I did, or probably also Ashton did along the way.
For sure.
One last word for listeners, for me, for whoever.
Pay attention, because Bitcoin and blockchain will be bigger than you think. And the most important time to pay attention is when nobody else is. We're not seeing Bitcoin in the mainstream news right now. So I think it's a very important time to be paying attention and following, because when it is, you'll be ahead of the game.
That's a good point. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best. Have an amazing day and greetings from Tulum.
Tulum.